সবাই মোটামুটি জয়েন করে গেছো তো?
ম্যাম,
হ্যাঁ,
আমাদের একজন মেটেরিয়াল ব্যালেন্সের প্রবলেম বলে দেবেন, খুব প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
আজকে ক্লাসটা হয়ে যাক।
ম্যাম, আপনার যখন টাইম হবে তখনই বলে দেবেন।
তুমি তুমি কি ল্যাটারালের মধ্যে পড়ছো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
ল্যাটারালদের তো আমি পরে এই সিলেবাসটা আজকে আমি শেষ করব। আমি ক্লাস নেব। তোমাদের কবে থেকে কি ক্লাস আছে সেটা একটু দেখে নিতে হবে, মানে কতটুকু তোমাদের কাছে আছে, তারপরে আমি ওটা ডিসাইড করব, ঠিক আছে?
ঠিক আছে ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, ক্রুড অয়েল অ্যানালিসিস তো অনেকগুলো প্রসেস আছে। তো ক্রুড অয়েল অ্যানালিসিসের মেইন যেটা প্রসেস হচ্ছে সেটা হচ্ছে আইবিপি অ্যান্ড টিবিপি. TBP and IBP calculation. IBP is initial boiling point and TBP is true boiling point. So when crude petroleum oil, that is a mixture of hydrocarbon, natural gas are mixed with it. So when it separates out from the crude oil, we get the natural gas first, and then atmospheric distillation unit or through vacuum distillation unit we can separate the C1, C2, C3, C4 and higher hydrocarbon. So normally C1, C2 and C3, so among them ethane has a high vapor pressure, then propane, then butane. So traces amount of butane we found in crude oil right from the well. Propane and butane are present in the liquid state at slightly above atmospheric pressure owing to their low vapor pressure and high solubility in crude oil. Propane butane mixture, when that is separated from crude oil, this propane butane mixture is known as a liquid petroleum gas. And the remaining liquid hydrocarbon, they can be separated, but their boiling point is 140 degrees centigrade. So why they are called the naphtha cut? Because the other hydrocarbon, naphtha the carbon content is C9 plus. Or higher hydrocarbon. So when higher hydrocarbon is mixed with the naphtha, that is known as a naphtha cut. So boiling point is 140 degrees centigrade. And kerosene cut, that boiling point, that is 140 degrees centigrade to 270 degrees centigrade. So these are generally only distillation. Now when how this boiling point we can measure? So this is known as the initial boiling point. When we heat some crude oil and then the crude oil forms vapor, and first the temperature at which temperature of the vapor giving the first drop of condensate, that is reported, and that is known as the initial boiling point. And normally this may be above or below 0 degree centigrade depending on the presence of the lowest boiling point. So this is a distillation apparatus. Here we have a heater and we have crude oil also. So when we increase the temperature in this distillation column, uh, that vapor form starts here, vapor forming starts here, and when the vapor coming through this condensing water, that is a condenser, and we have cold water. So where you get the first drop of vapor. So, when this condense and we get a first drop, this temperature is noted, and this is known as a IBP, initial boiling point. Now if you continuing the increase of temperature, and we get a as condensed liquid, and those known as a true boiling point. Okay, so separation of hydrocarbon can be improved if the vapor and its condensate are in intimate contact for some time during distillation and a reproducible distillation analysis. So such method is known as a true boiling point. Okay, so this is the apparatus, and how this is a way that we can calculate the IBP and TBP. When we have the naphtha, that means when this crude oil that coming from a oil and atmospheric distillation, when we separate them, we have naphtha gas. And if you start a distillation, not distillation, basically purification process, you can separate the hydrogen sulfide and you will get a clear natural gas. Lots of separation units are there. And on the other hand, you will get the naphtha. Happen if you so this is a picture where you get the naphtha, and after so many operation, that means after so many separation, you get C1 to C5 different compositions, higher hydrocarbon. Now this is a schematic through which we can get an idea that how to produce this C1, C2, C3, C4. First, we have the naphtha, and through pump, it is coming into this furnace. Now, this is a furnace where actually of reactor. So main pyrolysis, not pyrolysis, main reaction, cracking reaction takes place here. So the temperature is above 850 degree. And here this is a endothermic reaction, so we need some heat. So from this steam drum we are steam for the heating purpose. That's why we can generate the temperature of the system. Now after cracking, lots of hydrocarbon vapor that will come, and we are sending into the stabilizer section. Why stabilizer section? Because light fraction and higher fraction, they are mixed. So this is coming through a cracking reaction. So when this light fraction they generate, there is a chances that they may get ice, or they may further takes part into the reaction. So to stop the reaction, we need to send them into a stabilizer. So from stabilizer, that is basically first distillation operation, we get a fuel oil. And why fuel oil? This is a most heavy part. So that is the liquid part. So the vapor part and the liquid part that are mixed, and through stabilization we are separating the liquid part and the vapor part. So vapor part now they are coming. First vapor part through compressor and condensation we collect, coming into the first distillation column. This distillation column is basically a separating unit, so that we can separate the carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide or some other impurities like sulfur. If inert like argon, nitrogen are there, we can separate. And then they are coming into the absorber. This is the amine absorption column, diethyl methane. So DEM, this is this can be used in this absorber column as a absorbent, so that we can separate mainly the hydrogen sulfide part. So here we can see that from the absorber as a bottom product, we are going to separate this carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and sulfur. May be present in different form, like carbon mercaptan, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide. So to just separate the sulfur part. After separation of sulfur and other impurities, the pure gas means the gas that is a mixture of C1 to C5. We are assuming they are coming into this purification system. So from this purification section, we are collecting the hydrogen. Now that is coming into the first section, distillation operator, that is the demethanizer. Through this demethanizer, we can get our methane gas, and the bottom product, that is mixture of C2 to C5, they are coming into this deethanizer section. From this deethanizer section, we collect this product, that is a ethylene or acetylene. They are coming, they are coming, or ethane maybe, they are coming into this section. That is a top product, and bottom product, that is coming into the depropanizer section. When the top product that is coming into the another section, that is a basically reactor, small reactor there, and we are feeding the hydrogen. So hydrogenation takes place here. After hydrogenation, that is the acetylene hydrogenator. So after hydrogenation, we have a separated unit, and from this separated unit, as a top product, we are separating the ethylene, and as a bottom product, we are separating the, okay. Now coming into the bottom portion of the deethanizer section, the bottom product is coming into the depropanizer section. From the depropanizer, as a top product, we are separating mainly the C3 product. This C3 product is coming into the propylene and separator part, where we are from which we are separating propylene, and as a bottom product, propane. Now the depropanizer bottom product, that is coming into this debutanizer section. Butanizer section, we are separating the pyrolysis gasoline as a bottom product. From the debutanizer, as a top product, we are separating the butane. So this is basically the separation. Lots of separation units are there. Of their boiling points, we separate the C1, C2, C3, C4. Okay. So this is a cracking of naphtha. Now one polymerization, actually when polymerization reaction takes place, we produce plastic, fiber, might, phenol formaldehyde, resin, okay, mainly plastic. Now polyamide, nylon 66, this nylon 6 this is a product class নিচ্ছি so nylon 66, this is an example of polyamide. Nylon 6 products as a polyamide are available in the market. Now, what is the difference between these two polyamide? Nylon 66. For this feedstock are this adipic acid, diamine reaction. We have a salt. Then finally we have this nylon 66 product. Of nylon 6 is caprolactam. When this caprolactam cracks in presence of water, we have this nylon 6. Now, this nylon 6 and nylon 66 have similar property, but they have some differences also. The main difference between these nylon 6s and nylon 6 is that of nylon 66 is 40 to 45 degree, quite higher than the
And it
nylon
is
6.
quite higher than the nylon 6.
Hello?
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes,
ইয়েস
ma'am.
ম্যাম, বাট কোনো একজনের মাইক অন আছে, সেই জন্য দুবার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
সানি কুমার অন করে রেখেছিল। তো melting point physical property. So now melting point is higher of nylon 6. For nylon 66 it is lower and it is 40 to 45 degree centigrade. Is harder, rigid, where the another physical property, that is abrasive resistance, that is lower than the nylon 6. So these are the difference of nylon 6s, nylon 6. Now one schematic diagram, that is, sorry, not schematic, the flow sheets are available. This is for nylon 66 manufacturing process. So we have adipic acid, hexamethyl diamine, and acetic acid. This acetic acid is a promoter. Okay. Now, a fermenter. Okay. Now this is a fermenter reactor, and reaction is endothermic. So we need some steam for the heating. Reaction, what happens in fast reaction? In fast reaction we have nylon salt, and here agitation is required, so we can see the presence of agitator. Now the nylon salt is coming into a separator section. That means we are actually applying here vacuum pressure so that the water part that may removed. Now this water free part, that is again coming into a second reactor, that is the where the polymerization reaction takes place. So here the main fiber that is produced. Now we have Doutham. So why Doutham? This reaction, this polymerization reaction, this is basically a exothermic reaction. So heat, we can use the water. But why Doutham? Because the Doutham can attain the low temperature. Exothermic reaction, but the energy that is produced during this reaction is very low. That is 120 degrees centigrade, minus 120 degree maybe. So Doutham can attain the lower temperature. Therefore, we are using here Doutham. Why? This is an exothermic reaction. So the product, that is coming that has a high temperature, and this is a fiber. So this is coming into this casting roll. Casting roll means what? That there is a roller. So when we have this hot product that is coming through this roller, and we spread some cold water. So when they travel into this roll, we can easily make a film, and this film or ribbon. Rolls basically used to make the film or ribbon. And this ribbon fiber, the ribbon form of fiber that is coming into the chopper, because we need small pieces of them. So after chopping, we have the main part, that is a nylon 66. This nylon 66 or this nylon resin you can use, but if you want to use them in a textile area or for commercial purpose, then we have further treatment. Now this nylon resin is coming into a dryer as well as filter, because here we can use or we can add a different type of additives like okay. Now what happens in this dryer section, we applying some nitrogen pressure so that if few percentage of water are there, we can separate. Now this temperature we can also apply. So Dow thumb we can apply for giving the temperature, and then we have melt product. So when they coming through a filter paper, easily we can separate the impurities part. And impurities part means some unreacted components we can separate. And after separation of these impurities, we can add some color here. Now this fiber or the small, now this is a melt fiber. So this fiber is coming into this section. This is known as a spinning machine through which we can make a thread. Now here air pressure is required, forms a centrifugal force, and not centrifugal force, that is a spinning force. And here we need to maintain 750 rpm, revolution per minute. This speed the machine will rotate, and we have hot thread, and then they are passing through a cold section so that we can have a cold thread or filament. Then finally we have commercial 66 nylon. This is a manufacturing process of nylon 6s. This process are explained here, and then that is a plastic part, that is a polyvinyl monomer or vinyl monomer, and through polymerization reaction we can produce this one. Now this is a what type of reaction is this? Polymerization reaction, basically lots of processes are there. Chemical reaction, chemical structure we can classify on the basis of method we can classify. So on the basis of this condensation, emulsion, suspension, lots of reactions are there. So we only need this vinyl chloride production. Now this is the emulsion polymerization, or you can say suspension polymerization. So what happens here, as a raw feedstock we have ammonium salt and acid and water. then they are coming into this reactor. So here when this ammonium salt and acid they are mixed, they are fed into this tank in a such a way that a tiny droplet behaves like itself a reactor. Okay, so that we can produce better quality PVC. Now acetations is there, and this is a exothermic reaction. So that's why the cooling water that is supplied into jacketed system. Now when this vinyl chloride they are coming, that means the polyvinyl chloride that is coming, that is we have the separator part. So liquid part and gaseous part they are separated in this section. The gaseous part we can collect, and distillation section, through distillation we can collect the and acid. We are using acid here, so neutralization is required. Therefore caustic solution is added to neutralize the part. And as a recycle purpose, we have the monomer means that is a vinyl monomer. Okay, and the liquid part, so we can see that the vinyl that is coming and that is sent into this reactor, that means basically recycled, we are recycling the vinyl chloride. And we have now the liquid part means that is a polyvinyl chloride that is coming into this salt recovery section, because ammonium salt that is used here. So through centrifugation, so centrifugal force, that is also known as the separator, that means the gas solid separator. So this gas solid separator, by using this we can separate, and our desirable product after drying we can make them. That is a manufacturing process of polyvinyl chloride. So in our syllabus we have one polyamide production, vinyl chloride production. Okay, so complete. Now coming into this materials of construction. Materials of construction, basically those materials of construction, this theory is required for plant process. Are there, pipe fittings are there, and those pipe fittings and reactor they are made of sometimes plastic and sometimes steel or various metals we need to apply into this plant. We need to study this chapter, because if we know that the effect of atmosphere, effect of water, effect of acid, particular material, then we can avoid the corrosion. Therefore we need to study this material of construction. So first, that what is the material properties, what type of metal we use in our industry, and what are the desirable properties. Like first we have to know the mechanical properties of a system. Mechanical properties means the strength, tensile strength, elastic modulus, then the toughness, that is a fracture resistance, hardness, that is a wear resistance, fatigue resistance, creep resistance. These all are part of metal. Subsection of a mechanical properties. Effect. We have high temperature, we have low temperature. This metal or any other product, how they will behave. Then corrosion resistance, that is a metal, and how they will by other product. Then sometimes some metal has special properties like thermal conductivity, electrical resistance, magnetic properties. We have to characterize them. Then the fabrication part, forming, welding, casting, these are the part of the glass industry, ceramic industry. So we have to know them. Then the standard size. Size means the volume or the size or the area that we have to know. And finally, the cost of the product. Now, under mechanical properties, now that's this description we have. So, what is tensile strength first? The tensile strength is a measure of the basic strength of a material, and it is the maximum stress that the material will withstand. And this is measured by a standard tensile test. Now we have some data, standard data we need to always maintain that that standard data when we set a new instrument, those have some standard data. So tensile strength is one of them. Now stiffness. Stiffness means it is the ability to resist blending and buckling. It is a function of elastic modulus of the material and the shape of the cross section of the. Next is toughness. Toughness is associated with tensile strength, and it is a measure of the material's resistance to crack propagation. Then hardness, that is a surface hardness, and it is measured in a standard test. It is an indication of material's ability to resist the wear. Fatigue failure is likely to occur in a equipment subject to cyclic loading, like rotating equipment, or we use some pump and compressor. That time any equipment that's subject to temperature or pressure cycling, that time we need to measure this fatigue. Okay. And what is creep? Creep is a gradual extension of a material under a steady tensile stress over a prolonged period of time. Basically they are coming under the mechanical properties. Okay. This topic is corrosion resistance. Okay. What problem we can see in our industry, and which properties are responsible of this corrosion? Okay, there are different way, and so many reasons are there that we by them the instrument or the metal part or the product, they get corroded. So why those responsible elements? That first one is general wastage of material, uniform corrosion, or the galvanic corrosion, or the pitting, stress corrosion, erosion of water. These are the responsible of corrosion. Okay. Some metallic part are there. If you have a electrolytic reactor, okay, then we have cathode, anode, electrolyte, and when they get corroded, which part? Okay, we have to identify. In cathodic areas, corrosion happen. And what are the reason? Like metal, acid, or the structure or the space that are responsible for this corrosion. So at first we have to know this pitting, what are they? The galvanic corrosion, what are they? So first coming into this uniform corrosion. Okay, what is uniform corrosion? That is the more or less uniform wastage of material by the corrosion, with no pitting or other forms of local attack. Formula that IPI is equal to 12 divided by TA rho, where this W is a mass loss in time, that is a constant, T that is the time in years, A that is the surface area, and rho is a density. And what is this IPI? That is the uniform corrosion rate. What is galvanic corrosion? Galvanic corrosion is that if dissimilar metals are placed in a contact in an electrolyte, the corrosion rate anodic metal will be increased. As the metal lower in the electrochemical series will readily act as a cathode. Galvanic corrosion. Now, pitting, what is pitting? Pitting that is given to very localized corrosion that forms pits in the metal surface. And if a material is liable to pitting, penetration can occur permanently and corrosion rate data are not a eligible reliable guide to the. ঠিক আছে? So actually lots of definitions are there and you need to remember these all definitions. Now, selection for corrosion resistance. Okay. So when we have some corrosive chemical present in our system, then some factor must be considered. Which factors? Like temperature. Why? Because it affects the corrosion rate and mechanical properties. Then pressure, then pH, then presence of trace impurities, the amount of radiation, stream velocity and agitation, heat transfer rate. If we track this, all the reason for corrosion, we can easily avoid them. Okay, so we have some corrosion chart. Actually, this is a standard data. When we have some material, the corrosion, like the mechanical properties, the effect of temperature, all are written there. Okay, so when we have this data, we can easily avoid this corrosion. Process equipment design. Process equipment design is that in maybe in next semester you will have this engineering 2, maybe this subject name, and mechanical operations are there, one of the subject. And in mechanical operation, we will have lots of separation unit. Basically mechanical separation unit. And this is known as a process equipment. And when we fix them, crashing purpose, communication purpose, purpose, when they use them, we need to draw the design of the system. We for a suppose select the first separation, and it is a solid separation. We have to select such equipment that can only separate the solid part. Then you have to know that which particle size we can separate by using this separator. Okay, so each process have a particular data. Data means some table or some measure that this volume or this particle or this features. Okay, we need the features, and when we have them, we can design them. So this chapter, this process equipment design, this is about the all equipment for mechanical purpose. Have solid separation. Okay, solid separation means on the basis of the particle size. So particle size, when our objective is to separate the solid, and that is the main driving force, that is a particle size. First come that is screening method. And you know what is screening method? That we have a mesh, and if you have a mixture of solid particle, you can use different size of mesh, and on the basis of the particle